Hey everybody, Steve Ritter back again. So it's been a little bit of a break. I apologize. It's been pretty busy around here. I wanted to hop back into it with these devotions, and these really are a blessing to me to do these. And I'm an instructor. I teach C-17 simulators to the Emirati pilots, and as an instructor over the years, I've learned that to be an instructor, to be a teacher, from my time teaching as well in high school, you really have to know the material, and if you're going to present it, you really have to get into it and think through possible questions, or here's something that maybe people wouldn't understand, and you have to think about different ways of presenting the material so people can understand it. And I'm by no means an expert or anything, and I'm certainly not I haven't been to seminary or anything like that, but years of reading the Bible and studying and praying and all, and I just all these are just, I read this, boy, the Lord really put this on my heart today, and I just sharing it with you like I would. I'll do this a lot at home. I'll read something, and Ravishing Mrs. Ritter and I are sitting there having coffee, and I'll pass along something that I just, Lord put on my heart at that moment, or I saw. So that's what this is. So today, one of my favorite persons in the Bible is Joseph. I love his story, and I'm a big fan of history. And I remember in high school, I had my favorite teacher, my history teacher, and he, instead of just dates and memorizing and this happened here and this happened here and all of that, he really brought out the fact that these were people just like we are in those days, and what were their thoughts and what they were going through and everything else, and it really brought it to life. And I think about that with Joseph, and I was reading today, and I was reading in the this devotional book talking about Genesis 40:23. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph; he forgot him. And so, some context with the story. So Joseph, sold by his brothers into slavery, he's down in Egypt, working for Potiphar. God blessed everything he did. Everything the man touched, God blessed, because God had a plan. God thinks long term. All right. He doesn't work like this, like looking right in front of the end of his nose. He's thinking long term, big plans, visionary, right? So he's got big plans for Joseph, right? And part of that, then he goes and works for Potiphar. He's living a pretty good life. All of that happened with Potiphar's wife, gets thrown in prison. He's in prison. He's in there one day, and guess what? And within a little while, he's running the place. Everything he does, God blesses. And people are wise enough to see that. Hey, here's a guy I want to hire, right, to do this work. So he's in there one day, and all of a sudden, doors clang open. I just imagine, two guys get tossed in, and it's Pharaoh's cupbearer and his baker, and they're thrown in prison, which are positions of trust and high positions, because they have access to Pharaoh, and let me make sure this mic's on. And they're the last stop for people trying to poison them and kill them and everything else. So but they're in prison, so they're like sitting there, and then one day they have a dream, or a night they both have a dream, and they're wondering what's going on, and Joseph comes along and says, well, God God knows these dreams, and he tells me what's going on, so tell me your dream, and I'll pray, and I'll ask God what they mean. And so they both say the dream, and basically the cupbearer is told, 3 days, you're out of here, you're back to where you were, everything's going to be great. To the baker, though, 3 days, you're dead. So so that's what happens. So this verse 23 here, so guess what? They're out of prison, those two, one in a good way, one not in a good way, and the cupbearer forgot. And he gets up there and he's like, whew, back in the high life again, right? So there he is next to Pharaoh. 2 years go by. And in the next chapter, it continues on. 2 years go by. So what about in those 2 years? And I think about that a lot. I think about that as I read this. What was going through Joseph's mind during those 2 years? I mean, here's a golden opportunity where the guy who was around Pharaoh all the time, and this guy, and Joseph told him, look, I'm going to tell you what's going on with your dream, but when you come out of here, remember me, let Pharaoh know, get me out of here, because I didn't do anything wrong, and I shouldn't be here. And I'm sure the cupbearer's like, yeah, whatever, man, I'm going to help you out. And he forgot. And Joseph in those 2 years must have been sitting there going, that was my golden chance. That was my time, man. I was going to get out of here, and everything was going to be great. And I think sometimes, and I take that situation, and I bring that over to our lives in times when we think of things, and I'm speaking from experience, like I normally do, and usually not good experience, right? So, what's the expression? Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So Joseph, if Joseph had said, you know what, I'm going to stomp my feet, I'm going to shake the bars, I'm going to, hey, get me the cupbearer, tell him I need to talk to him, and hey, man, if he had like forced the issue, if he had forced it, I wonder, because in chapter 41 is where Pharaoh has his dream about the famine that was coming up. And that was the catalyst for the Pharaoh was despondent because he's like, tell me my dream, tell me, nobody could tell him. And he's just beside himself and angry with everybody because nobody could help him out until the cupbearer remembered Joseph and said, wait a second, I know a guy who interpreted my dream, and here I am, and it came true. So maybe you ought to talk with this guy, right? So if Joseph 2 years earlier had, and imagine, somehow if the cupbearer would have come down there and said, oh yeah, dude, I'm sorry, hold on, I'll put in a good word for you. Hey, Pharaoh, there's a guy, maybe you could help him out, do me a favor and let this guy out. And Pharaoh went, okay, sure. Joseph's out, and what? Right? So who's to say that and I guess the point that I take away from this is God has his time. God has his time. He has a plan for us. He has a plan for you. He has his time. And patience. Understanding that God has plans within plans that snake and work and twirl and weave into this beautiful tapestry that is your life. And patience. And sometimes God says, just a minute, slow down. Trust me, I'm going to get you there. And that's a beautiful thing. So, having trust, faith in God, and understanding that if God doesn't answer your prayer right now, you're not forgotten. It's just not his time yet. So, anyway, I took that away today. I really enjoyed reading that. I love the story of Joseph. So, hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry that I missed last week. Back again, back in the saddle. So we'll see you next time. We'll see you in the videos. I'm going to have a few coming up this week. It has been pretty busy, but it's slowed down a little this week, so I should be able to do some videos. So I'll see you soon, and take care. God bless.